Peace and blessings to all my brothers and sisters in Christ. Jesus is your beloved brother LeVar, coming back at you guys again with another video. And I'm going to get straight into this topic. I had a dialogue with a friend of mine. I was at this bar and grill, and he came in and he began to confide in me and talk to me about a couple of things that was going on in his life. In particular, he was talking about this church he had belonged to and how he was losing his wife as a result of him not wanting to maintain his membership there. He was very distraught. He was very upset. And, I had asked him, what was the problems that was going on? And he named a lot of the typical things that you see in a lot of churches that that are just not right. As far as like the whole tithing issue and just other things. It was mainly financial from what I understand that from what he was saying. But he started talking to me about how he just don't like the word religion in general. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've heard this before, so, what you got? What's the problem that you have? And, he told me, the definition of religion means to hold back and to put into bondage. And I asked him, I said, where are you getting this from? And, he got upset. And a lot of people aren't used to people asking them, where are you getting your information from? Where is the scholarship coming from? Because I've heard it, I just never seen it as far as like on paper or anywhere credible, not in no library, nowhere. And so, he proceeded to talk about, and I said, I don't want to debate with you about this whole issue because it was getting kind of heated. Because I don't like when people come to me and tell me they have a truth claim and then they don't back it up. I have a problem with that. So, to be fair, I just wanted to eat my food in this bar and grill we were at, and I just wanted to just let it go, but he kept on going. So this is when I pressed him about showing me this stuff, and he couldn't, and so I proceeded to try to help him out and explain this stuff to him, and he wasn't trying to hear it. So that's what sort of inspired this particular video. I just want to go into the origin of the word religion, show you why it's not in any way, shape, or form having any negative connotation whatsoever. It's just people are online, and I say this all the time, spewing garbage and spreading filth. And the people who have correct scholarship are sometimes shunned and not looked at in the proper light because you got all this filth, a mountain of filth climbing, and people want the filth. People want to believe that the Bible is written by Europeans and it was given to black people to keep them in some type of bondage of the mind and all this stuff. People want to believe that in this country in particular. And the fact is that, Christianity and Judaism and all this stuff, the origins of all this stuff is black people. It's just that you haven't picked up a book and read anything. Only thing you do is do lazy research, which is what? Going on YouTube and listening to a bunch of people who are caught up in the flesh who want you to praise blackness. And I have nothing wrong with being proud of your race in general. I have no problem with that. But again, this is the flesh. There's a spirit and there's a flesh. And the flesh is limited. The spirit is infinite. So with all that said, I just want to put out some information real quick and, help somebody out, because again, the lies on YouTube and other social media outlets is just it's staggering. It's just ridiculous. But with all that said, here is the word religion and what it really means. Religion, origin, Old French, Latin, Middle English, originally in the sense life under monastic vows, from Old French or from Latin, religion, obligation, bond, reverence, perhaps based on Latin religare, to bind. So we see here that the origin of the word religion comes from Latin, and it uses these terms obligation, bond, and reverence. If you have a religion, this means you have an obligation to whomever you say your God is. You bond with this particular God, and you show reverence to this particular God. This is exactly where this word religion comes from, but it's based on the baseline definition, meaning to bind. When you bind to something, that means you connect to something. That is the origin of the word religion. It has nothing to do with uh trying to make you stupid or trying to put you under subjugation or trying to keep you in bondage. It's not there to make you unintelligent. That's not what the baseline definition or etymology of the word religion is. What it means ultimately is to bind or connect. That's it. So let's go now and let me show you what this one writer writes on the internet about the etymology of the word religion, and his name is Gary Emerald. And so this is what I meant when I said there's a lot of filth on the internet, because you got these guys who come off as if they know what they're talking about, and when you look at the origin of their belief system, you'll realize that these people try to shape definitions around their worldview. So let's get into it. It says here, Webster's Collegiate Dictionary traces the word back to an Old Latin word religio, meaning taboo, restraint. A deeper study discovers the word comes from the two words re and ligare. Re is a prefix meaning return, and ligare means to bind. In other words, return to bondage. Do you still want some of that old time religion? And so what people need to know about this guy is he's a universalist Christian. What does that mean? Well, one among many of their false beliefs is that no one goes to hell. And so that is part of the Jews' religion. That thought and that teaching is part of the Jews' religion. And so what they try to tell you is that no matter what you do, you're not going to have any punishment for what you do, because they believe that this is bondage. That if you obey God and do what he say do, this is some form of bondage and trying to hold you back and restrain you from what you really want to do. And see, what they do is they play on these words and they twist the definitions and come up with their own stuff, like I said, to promote their worldview. You cannot shape definitions based on your worldview. You got to take the definition for what it says. The word re in Latin, in some contexts, means return. And ligare does means to bind. But it's not talking about to bind in a manner that you're going to have somebody serving you or bind them up or tie them up and have them serving you in slavery. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about connecting. So let's go now into a little history way before this brother who wrote that particular article, and let's see what some of the earliest Christians believe this word came from, who actually spoke Latin. It says here, Lactantius, the distinguished convert to Christianity, who in the first quarter of the 4th century taught and wrote at Nicomedia in Bithynia, was the first, so far as I know, to derive the word religion from religare, referring to bond of piety by which we are attached and bound to God. Augustine, one of the most influential of the early church fathers, who flourished about 100 years later, adopted the derivation of Lactantius. It was also adopted by Servius in the 5th century and his annotations on Virgil. So I just wanted to give a little history to show that some of the earliest believers believed this word religion to derive from this word religare in the Latin. So in conclusion to this video, I'm gonna wrap this up. Religion is not a bad word. It doesn't encourage people to be stupid and not think for themselves. It doesn't do anything like that. What it does is encourage everybody to think about how they can reconnect to their creator. And what it does is encourage unity between mankind and the supreme being. And so I just want people to be intelligent and stop falling for everything and stop believing that everybody is trying to put a foothold on your neck because they speak in spiritual terms and use spiritual terminology that carnal people just can't catch. Shalom.